3 weeks after the assessment program concluded, Maria found herself standing in the office of Colonel James Mitchell, commanding officer of the Army's premier sniper training facility. The room was lined with photographs of distinguished graduates, their achievements representing decades of excellence in precision marksmanship. She was about to join their ranks through an accelerated process that had never been attempted before. Sergeant Santos, Colonel Mitchell began, reviewing the thick file on his desk. Your assessment scores are unprecedented. General Hayes has personally requested that we fast-track you through our advanced programs. This is highly unusual, but your demonstrated capabilities justify exceptional measures. Maria maintained her professional demeanor, though internally, she was still processing how dramatically her military career had changed in just 3 weeks. The phone calls had started within days of her assessment completion. Special operations recruiters, sniper school administrators, and even civilian contractors had expressed interest in her services. Sir, I'm ready for whatever training you deem appropriate. Good. Because what I'm proposing will challenge every assumption about traditional training timelines. Normally, candidates spend months in basic sniper training before advancing to specialized programs. Your background suggests we can compress that timeline significantly. The colonel opened a folder containing course schedules and training requirements. What he was proposing was ambitious even by military standards, an accelerated progression through multiple levels of sniper training, with evaluation checkpoints that would determine her suitability for immediate operational assignment. You'll begin with advanced marksmanship immediately, skipping basic courses. If you maintain current performance levels, we'll move directly to tactical employment and mission planning. The goal is to have you operationally qualified within 6 months instead of the usual 12 to 18 months. It was an extraordinary opportunity, but Maria understood the pressure that came with such accelerated development. Every phase of training would be closely monitored, with her progress determining whether the experimental approach would be continued or abandoned. The first phase of advanced training introduced Maria to weapons systems beyond the Barrett M82A1. She demonstrated equal proficiency with the M24 sniper weapon system, the M2010 enhanced sniper rifle, and various foreign systems used by Allied forces. Each weapon had unique characteristics, but her fundamental skills translated seamlessly across platforms. Instructor Chief Warrant Officer Davis had been skeptical about the accelerated program until he observed Maria's first day on the range. Her ability to quickly adapt to different weapon systems and environmental conditions convinced him that traditional training timelines might indeed be inadequate for exceptional students. Santos, most students require weeks to achieve proficiency with each new weapon system. You're demonstrating expert-level performance within hours. How do you explain that? Sir, the fundamentals remain the same regardless of the specific weapon. Sight alignment, breathing, trigger control, and follow-through. Once you master those basics, adapting to different systems is mostly a matter of learning the mechanical differences. It was a sophisticated understanding that typically developed only through extensive experience. Maria was demonstrating theoretical knowledge that matched her practical abilities, suggesting she had studied precision shooting far beyond what was required for competitive participation. The tactical phase of training proved equally revealing. Scenarios involving camouflage, movement, and position selection challenged different skill sets than pure marksmanship. Maria approached these challenges with the same methodical analysis she applied to shooting problems, breaking complex tactical situations into manageable components. During a field exercise involving target identification and engagement priorities, Maria demonstrated decision-making abilities that impressed her instructors. The scenario required rapid analysis of multiple potential targets, consideration of collateral damage factors, and precise execution under time pressure. Target identified. Range 850 meters. Wind 5 to 7 miles per hour from the left quarter. Maria reported through her radio, maintaining perfect communication protocols while simultaneously preparing for the shot. The target fell precisely on schedule, demonstrating not just marksmanship, but complete integration of tactical and technical skills. Her instructors were witnessing the development of a complete sniper, not just an exceptional marksman. Major Harrison, the chief instructor for tactical employment, pulled Maria aside after the exercise. Santos, I need to ask you directly. Have you had access to advanced military training materials outside normal channels? No, sir. But I've studied everything I could find about precision shooting, including military manuals that are publicly available. I've always been interested in the technical aspects of long-range shooting. That level of preparation shows real dedication. Most soldiers don't study beyond what's required for their current assignments. It was another indication of the drive and intellectual curiosity that separated exceptional performers from merely competent ones. Maria had not waited for formal training to begin learning. She had been preparing herself for years before the opportunity arose. The psychological evaluation phase revealed additional strengths that were crucial for sniper operations. The ability to remain calm under extreme pressure, make life and death decisions quickly, and cope with the isolation that characterized sniper missions required specific mental attributes that not all marksmen possessed. Stress inoculation is usually one of our biggest challenges, the evaluating psychologist explained. Most students show performance degradation when we introduce realistic pressure. Your scores actually improve under stress conditions. Competitive shooting taught me to perform when it matters, Maria replied. In major competitions, there's no second chance. You either execute when the pressure is highest or you lose. The psychological profile that emerged showed remarkable emotional stability and resilience. Maria demonstrated the kind of mental toughness that enabled sustained performance in challenging operational environments. Combined with her technical skills, these attributes made her an ideal candidate for the most demanding assignments. Word of her exceptional progress reached the highest levels of military command. General Hayes had been monitoring the training reports closely, using Maria's success to support broader arguments about talent identification and development. The case was becoming a model for how exceptional individuals could be fast-tracked through traditional systems when circumstances warranted. Sir, Santos represents exactly the kind of thinking we need, Hayes explained to the Army Chief of Staff during a routine briefing. Instead of forcing exceptional talent through inappropriate timelines, we should be adapting our systems to maximize their potential. But Maria remained focused on the immediate challenges of her accelerated training. Each week brought new tests and evaluations designed to verify her readiness for operational assignment. The pressure was intense, with multiple organizations watching her progress and waiting to see whether the experimental approach would succeed. The final phase of training involved integration with operational units. Maria was assigned to work with experienced sniper teams to evaluate her ability to function in real-world military environments. This phase would determine whether her individual excellence could translate into effective team performance. Sergeant First Class Rodriguez, a veteran sniper with multiple deployments, was assigned as her team leader for the evaluation period. He had been briefed on her exceptional abilities, but remained skeptical about her readiness for operational assignment without traditional experience progression. Santos, everything I've heard about your shooting is impressive, but sniping in combat is about much more than hitting targets on a range. Are you ready for the reality of what we do? I understand the responsibility, Sergeant. I'm prepared to do whatever the mission requires. Rodriguez nodded grimly. The conversation reminded him of his own early days as a sniper, when the weight of responsibility had been almost overwhelming. Taking human life at long range required a level of mental preparation that could not be taught in any school. The team evaluation exercises were designed to test Maria's ability to function under realistic operational conditions. Multi-day missions involving extended observation, target identification, and precision engagement challenged every aspect of her training. Her performance would determine whether she was ready for combat assignment. During a 72-hour observation mission, Maria demonstrated the patience and attention to detail that characterized professional snipers. Hours of watching empty terrain through a scope, maintaining detailed logs of activity, and preparing for engagement opportunities that might never come required mental discipline that many soldiers could not sustain. Movement, Sector 3, range approximately 1,200 meters. Maria reported quietly into her radio after 18 hours of continuous observation. Rodriguez confirmed the sighting through his own optics. The ability to detect and accurately report distant movement after extended periods of observation was a critical skill that could not be easily taught. Maria was demonstrating natural aptitude for the mental demands of sniper operations. When engagement authorization finally came, Maria's shot was perfect. The target fell immediately, confirming her ability to perform under operational conditions. But, more importantly, her demeanor after the engagement showed appropriate understanding of what had just occurred. This was not a game or competition. It was the deadly serious business of military operations. "How do you feel?" Rodriguez asked as they prepared to move to a new position. "Ready to do it again if necessary," Maria replied simply. It was exactly the response Rodriguez wanted to hear. Professional snipers understood that their mission required them to be prepared for multiple engagements without emotional deterioration. Maria was showing the kind of mental toughness that enabled sustained operational effectiveness. The evaluation reports that followed were unanimous in their conclusions. Maria had not only mastered the technical aspects of sniper operations but had demonstrated the tactical awareness and psychological stability required for combat assignment. Her accelerated training program had succeeded beyond all expectations. Colonel Mitchell reviewed the final evaluations with satisfaction. The experimental approach had validated his belief that exceptional students could progress faster than traditional timelines allowed. Maria's success was opening doors for similar programs that could maximize the military's return on training investments. "Santos, you've completed the most accelerated sniper training program in Army history. Your performance has been exceptional at every level. Are you ready for operational assignment?" "Yes, sir." "Absolutely. Good. Because you're being assigned to a special operations unit that specifically requested you based on your training performance. This is an honor that reflects both your abilities and the confidence your instructors have in your readiness." The assignment represented everything Maria had hoped for when she first requested to shoot the Barrett M82A1. From supply specialist to special operations sniper in less than 6 months was a career transformation that validated her years of preparation and natural talent. General Hayes attended Maria's graduation ceremony personally, recognizing both her individual achievement and the broader implications of her success. The accelerated training program was being studied as a model for future talent development initiatives across multiple military specialties. "Sergeant Santos," Hayes said during the ceremony, "your success demonstrates what becomes possible when we match exceptional talent with appropriate opportunities. You've not only achieved your own goals, but have helped us improve how we identify and develop capabilities across the force." As Maria received her sniper qualification and new assignment orders, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. The decision to request range time with the Barrett had seemed simple at the time, but it had changed everything about her military career and future opportunities. Standing in formation with other graduates, Maria understood that her real challenges were just beginning. Operational assignment would test everything she had learned in ways that training could not fully simulate. But she was ready for whatever missions awaited, confident in her abilities and grateful for the opportunities that exceptional performance had created. The young woman who had quietly asked to shoot the .50 caliber rifle was now qualified to serve alongside the military's elite marksmen. Her demonstration of excellence had earned recognition, respect, and assignment to missions where her unique capabilities could serve the national interest. The transformation from supply specialist to special operations sniper was complete, but her story was just beginning. Years of preparation, weeks of assessment, and months of accelerated training had culminated in this moment. Maria Santos had proven that exceptional talent, properly recognized and developed, could achieve results that challenged every assumption about traditional training and assignment processes. Her success had opened new possibilities not just for her own career, but for countless others whose potential might otherwise go unrecognized within conventional military systems. General Hayes stepped closer to the firing line, her trained eye taking in every detail of Maria's shooting position and equipment handling. As a general officer with over 25 years of military service, she had observed countless demonstrations of marksmanship. What she was witnessing now was something entirely different. "Sergeant Thompson," General Hayes called out, her voice carrying the authority that came with 2 stars on her collar. What is Staff Sergeant Santos's background? Thompson snapped to attention immediately upon recognizing the general. Ma'am, according to her file, she's assigned to the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell. Primary MOS is supply specialist. No formal sniper training on record. The general raised an eyebrow. A supply specialist achieving this level of accuracy with the Barrett M82A1 challenged everything she understood about military specialization and training. The weapon required not just marksmanship skills, but deep understanding of ballistics, environmental factors, and advanced shooting techniques that were typically learned only through specialized schools. Has she fired the Barrett system before today? Not according to range records, ma'am. This appears to be her first experience with the .50 caliber platform. General Hayes studied Maria more carefully. The young sergeant was breaking down her rifle now, conducting post-firing maintenance with the same methodical precision she had demonstrated during shooting. Her movements showed familiarity with weapons systems that went far beyond basic military training. Santos, the general called out. Front and center. Maria immediately secured her weapon and moved to a position of attention in front of General Hayes. She had noticed the general's arrival, but had been too focused on her shooting to pay proper attention to the rank structure gathering around the range. Now, face to face with a general officer, she maintained perfect military bearing despite the unusual circumstances. Ma'am, Maria acknowledged formally. Outstanding shooting, Sergeant. Where did you learn to handle precision weapons like that? My grandfather taught me the basics, ma'am. He was a Marine sniper in Vietnam. I've been shooting since I was 8 years old, mostly hunting and competitive target shooting back home in Texas. General Hayes nodded slowly. Military families often produced exceptional soldiers, and the transmission of skills across generations was not uncommon. But what she had just witnessed went beyond family tradition. This was natural talent combined with serious technical knowledge. Competitive shooting, Hayes repeated. What kind of competition? Precision rifle matches, ma'am. Long-range competitions at distances up to 1,000 meters with civilian equipment. Some F-class matches, and a few Palma competitions before I enlisted. The pieces began falling into place for General Hayes. Precision rifle competition was a demanding sport that attracted some of the finest marksmen in the world. Military snipers often struggled to match the accuracy achieved by top civilian competitors who had access to the best equipment and unlimited training ammunition. And you chose to enlist as a supply specialist because... Maria's expression showed slight embarrassment. Honestly, ma'am, the recruiter told me there were no openings in combat arms for women at the time I enlisted. He suggested supply as a way to get into the military and potentially cross-train later. It was an all-too-familiar story. The military's policies regarding women in combat roles had evolved significantly in recent years, but bureaucratic momentum often prevented qualified individuals from reaching positions where their talents could be fully utilized. Maria represented the kind of wasted potential that drove Hayes to push for systemic changes. Major Williams, Hayes called to the range control officer. I want a complete review of Santos's military records. Also, contact division and request her immediate temporary assignment to this assessment program pending further evaluation. Yes, ma'am. Hayes turned back to Maria. Sergeant, I'm going to be direct with you. What I just witnessed was exceptional marksmanship by any standard. The military needs people with your capabilities in positions where they can be properly utilized. Are you interested in exploring options beyond supply? Yes, ma'am. Very much so. Good. For now, continue with the assessment program. I'll be personally monitoring your progress. As General Hayes departed with her staff, the crowd around Range 7 began to disperse. But word of Maria's shooting had already begun spreading beyond the immediate training facility. In the tight-knit community of military marksmen, news of exceptional shooting traveled fast. Captain Rodriguez approached Maria as she completed her equipment cleaning. Santos, that was impressive shooting. I've never seen anything like it from someone without formal sniper training. Thank you, sir. General Hayes doesn't involve herself in individual cases lightly. You've definitely gotten some high-level attention. Make sure you're ready for whatever comes next. What came next was a series of increasingly challenging shooting evaluations designed to test the limits of Maria's capabilities. Over the following 3 days, she was presented with scenarios that would challenge experienced snipers, shooting from unconventional positions, engaging multiple targets in sequence, and compensating for various environmental conditions. Each test revealed new aspects of her exceptional ability. When presented with a moving target scenario, Maria demonstrated an intuitive understanding of lead calculations that typically required extensive training to master. Her ability to estimate wind conditions proved remarkably accurate, even when shooting in challenging crosswind situations. Master Sergeant Kelly, a decorated sniper with multiple combat deployments, was brought in to conduct advanced evaluations. He had been skeptical when first briefed on Maria's performance, assuming that reports had been exaggerated. His skepticism vanished after observing her first few shots. "Where did you learn to read wind like that?" Kelly asked after watching Maria compensate perfectly for a gusting crosswind that had been giving even experienced shooters trouble. "Hunting in West Texas," Maria replied. "The wind never stops blowing out there. You learn to work with it, or you go home empty-handed." Kelly nodded with new understanding. The open ranges of Texas were notorious for challenging wind conditions. Hunters who learned their craft in such environments often developed skills that translated directly to military precision shooting. "Show me your ballistic calculations," Kelly requested, handing Maria a range card for an unknown distance target. Maria studied the target through her scope, noting environmental conditions and making mental calculations based on factors she had learned through years of competitive shooting. Her estimates for bullet drop, wind drift, and time of flight were remarkably close to the computer-generated solutions that military snipers typically relied upon. "You're doing this math in your head?" "Yes, Sergeant. I've been doing these calculations for so long they're automatic now." It was another indication of exceptional ability. Most military snipers relied heavily on ballistic computers and reference cards, especially for shots beyond 800 meters. Maria was performing complex calculations mentally with accuracy that matched technological solutions. Word of her performance reached the special operations community within days. Representatives from various units began making inquiries about her availability and qualifications. The Army's sniper school requested her records for review. Even civilian law enforcement agencies expressed interest in her potential availability for specialized training programs. But Maria remained focused on the immediate challenges of the assessment program. Each day brought new tests designed to evaluate different aspects of marksmanship and tactical understanding. She approached each challenge with the same methodical precision that had characterized her initial demonstration with the Barrett. The psychological evaluation proved as revealing as the shooting tests. Military psychologists were interested in understanding the mental attributes that enabled exceptional performance under pressure. Maria demonstrated remarkable emotional stability, maintaining consistent performance even when artificial stress factors were introduced. "Most shooters show degraded accuracy when we add time pressure or distractions," the evaluating psychologist explained. "Your performance actually seemed to improve slightly under stress conditions." "Competitive shooting teaches you to perform under pressure," Maria replied. "In matches, you're shooting for scores that determine rankings and sometimes prize money. There's always pressure to perform." The assessment program was revealing capabilities that extended far beyond marksmanship. Maria's tactical understanding, developed through years of competitive shooting and military service, enabled her to adapt quickly to complex scenarios. Her ability to analyze problems and develop solutions impressed evaluators who had worked with special operations personnel. On the fourth day of evaluation, Maria was presented with her most challenging test yet, engaging targets at maximum range under adverse conditions. The scenario was designed to simulate combat conditions where environmental factors and equipment limitations combined to create extremely difficult shooting problems. The target was positioned at 1,900 meters, near the maximum effective range of the Barrett M82A1 in ideal conditions. Weather conditions were deliberately challenging, with variable winds and intermittent rain that affected visibility. The scenario required Maria to demonstrate not just marksmanship, but tactical patience and environmental awareness. She studied the conditions for nearly 10 minutes before taking her first shot, a level of preparation that impressed the evaluating team. Many shooters, eager to demonstrate their abilities, would have rushed the shot without adequate analysis. Maria understood that at extreme ranges, preparation was as important as execution. Her first shot at 1900 meters was a clean miss, but the miss revealed important information about actual wind conditions versus estimated conditions. She made adjustments based on observed bullet impact and prepared for a second attempt. This methodical approach to learning and adaptation was exactly what evaluators wanted to see. The second shot connected with the target, though not in the center scoring area. For most shooters, any hit at 1900 meters under adverse conditions would have been considered exceptional. But Maria was not satisfied with near misses. She continued shooting, making incremental adjustments with each round. By her fifth shot, she had achieved the kind of consistency at extreme range that characterized world-class snipers. Each subsequent shot landed within inches of her aim point, demonstrating mastery of variables that challenged even experienced marksmen. The evaluating team was witnessing shooting that belonged in advanced sniper training rather than basic assessment. Master Sergeant Kelly shook his head in amazement. "Santos, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've never seen shooting like that from someone who isn't already a trained sniper. You're wasted in supply." But even as Maria's exceptional abilities were being documented and reported, larger forces were beginning to take notice. The special operations community was always searching for exceptional individuals who could contribute to challenging missions. Her combination of natural talent and competitive background made her an attractive candidate for advanced training programs. General Hayes had been monitoring the assessment reports closely. Each day brought new evidence that Maria represented the kind of exceptional talent that the military could not afford to waste in conventional assignments. But moving someone from supply specialty to combat arms required navigating complex bureaucratic processes. "Sir, we need to fast-track her transfer to a combat MOS," Hayes told her chief of staff. "This level of talent doesn't come along often. Ma'am, the paperwork alone could take months. And there will be questions about why we're making exceptions to standard procedures. Then, we make it a pilot program. Use her case to demonstrate how current assignment processes might be missing exceptional talent that doesn't fit traditional categories." It was the kind of institutional thinking that had elevated Hayes to general rank. Rather than fighting bureaucracy directly, she was positioning Maria's situation as part of a broader initiative to improve talent identification and utilization across the military. Meanwhile, Maria continued performing at levels that amazed even seasoned professionals. Her consistency under varying conditions suggested not just natural ability, but the kind of mental discipline that enabled peak performance regardless of external factors. These were exactly the qualities that special operations units valued most highly. The assessment program was drawing to a close, but Maria's future was just beginning to take shape. Multiple organizations were competing for her services, each recognizing that her combination of skills and potential made her uniquely valuable. The supply specialist who had arrived for a routine evaluation was departing as one of the most promising marksmen to emerge from military training in years. Her performance had challenged assumptions about talent identification and demonstrated how exceptional individuals could be overlooked by conventional assignment processes. But, more importantly, it had opened doors to opportunities that would allow her capabilities to be fully developed and utilized. As the final evaluation reports were prepared, one thing was clear: Maria Santos would not be returning to supply duties. Her exceptional demonstration with the Barrett M82A1 had earned her a place among the military's elite marksmen, with all the opportunities and responsibilities that such recognition entailed. The young woman who had quietly requested to shoot the Barrett had proven herself worthy of joining the ranks of the military's finest snipers. Her journey from supply specialist to recognized marksman was just beginning, but the foundation had been established through sheer excellence under pressure. The morning sun cast long shadows across the military training compound as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted the bipod legs of her Barrett M82A1 50 caliber rifle. The weapon stretched nearly 4 feet in front of her, its massive muzzle brake designed to tame the brutal recoil that had broken more than one inexperienced shooter's collarbone. Around her, the sounds of military life continued as usual. Soldiers jogged past in formation, their boots striking the pavement in perfect rhythm. The distant crack of smaller caliber weapons echoed from the standard rifle range. Maria had arrived at Fort Bragg 3 days earlier as part of a special operations assessment program. The invitation had surprised many in her unit back at Fort Campbell. She was good with a rifle, everyone knew that, but the Barrett was different. It was the kind of weapon reserved for the elite, the chosen few who could hit targets at distances most soldiers could barely see with the naked eye. The range safety officer, Sergeant First Class Thompson, watched her with barely concealed skepticism. He had been running this range for 12 years and had seen plenty of soldiers who thought they could handle the Big 50. Most of them ended up with bruised shoulders and wounded pride. The Barrett was not forgiving to those who did not respect it. "You sure about this, Santos?" Thompson called out. "That thing kicks like an angry mule. Maybe you should start with something more manageable." Maria looked up from her rifle setup, her dark eyes steady and calm. "I appreciate the concern, Sergeant. I'll be fine." Thompson shook his head slightly. He had heard that confidence before. The Barrett M82A1 was a legend among military weapons, capable of engaging targets at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. Its 50 caliber ammunition could punch through engine blocks, concrete barriers, and even light armored vehicles. In the hands of a skilled marksman, it was devastating. In the hands of someone unprepared, it was dangerous. The weapon itself commanded respect. Weighing nearly 30 pounds when loaded, it featured a semi-automatic action that cycled with each shot, though the recoil was so significant that follow-up shots required careful preparation. The scope mounted on top was a work of precision engineering, capable of magnifications that could reveal details at distances where human targets appeared as mere dots. Maria had been shooting since she was 8 years old, learning on her grandfather's ranch in Texas with an old bolt-action rifle that had seen service in World War II. She understood the fundamentals that many soldiers took for granted: breathing, trigger control, natural point of aim, and, most importantly, respect for the weapon and the responsibility that came with it. As she settled behind the Barrett, other soldiers began to notice. Word spread quickly in military circles when something unusual was happening. A female soldier attempting to qualify with the 50 cal was definitely unusual. Small groups began forming at the edges of the range, some curious, others clearly expecting to witness an embarrassing failure. 10 rounds. Engagement at 800 meters, Thompson announced, consulting his clipboard. Target is a standard E-type silhouette. You have unlimited time for this portion. 800 meters was considered a moderate distance for the Barrett, well within its effective range, but requiring solid fundamentals. The target downrange looked impossibly small, a black outline against the sandy backstop. Most soldiers struggled to hit man-sized targets at half that distance with standard rifles. Maria adjusted her position slightly, feeling for that perfect natural point of aim where the rifle seemed to point itself at the target. She controlled her breathing, letting her heart rate settle into a steady rhythm. The scope picture was crystal clear, the crosshairs steady on the center mass of the distant silhouette. The first shot came as a surprise to everyone except Maria. The massive rifle bucked against her shoulder with tremendous force, but she rode the recoil smoothly, keeping the scope picture stable throughout the firing cycle. The muzzle brake directed the blast waves to either side, creating a concussion that rattled windows in nearby buildings. Thompson raised his binoculars immediately. At 800 meters, hits were not always immediately visible to the naked eye. He focused on the target, expecting to see sand kicked up somewhere in the general vicinity. Instead, he found himself staring at a hole punched directly through the center of the silhouette. "Hit, center mass," he called out, though his voice carried a note of surprise. Maria cycled the bolt smoothly, chambering the second round. Her breathing remained controlled, her position unchanged. She had learned long ago that consistency was the foundation of accuracy. Every variable had to be controlled, every movement deliberate and purposeful. The second shot followed the first with mathematical precision. Then, the third. Each time, the Barrett spoke with its distinctive thunder, and each time, Thompson's binoculars revealed another hole in the target. By the fifth shot, the small crowd of observers had grown considerably. Word was spreading that something special was happening on Range 7. Captain Rodriguez, the company commander overseeing the assessment program, emerged from the range control building. He had heard the distinctive sound of the Barrett and wondered who was burning expensive 50 caliber ammunition this early in the morning. What he found was a scene that challenged his preconceptions. Maria Santos was not a large person. At 5 feet 6 inches and 140 pounds, she seemed almost dwarfed by the massive rifle. But, as Rodriguez watched, she fired shot after shot with mechanical precision, each round finding its mark with deadly accuracy. Her form was textbook perfect, her recoil management flawless. "Who authorized this?" Rodriguez asked Thompson. "She's part of the special assessment group, sir. Orders came down from division level. All candidates are supposed to be given the opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities with whatever weapon systems they request." Rodriguez nodded slowly. The special assessment program was designed to identify exceptional talent that might otherwise be overlooked by conventional evaluation methods. The military was slowly learning that sometimes the best warriors did not fit the traditional mold. The 10th shot rang out, and Thompson announced another hit. Maria safed her weapon and looked up expectantly. The target downrange had been reduced to tatters, with every shot landing within a 6-inch circle at 800 meters. It was shooting that would have been impressive from a seasoned sniper with years of experience behind the Barrett. "Outstanding shooting, Santos," Thompson admitted. "I've never seen a first-timer handle the 50 like that." But Maria was not finished. "Sergeant, what's the maximum engagement distance on this range?" Thompson consulted his range card. "We can engage targets out to 1,500 meters, but that's reserved for advanced qualification levels. The wind conditions at that distance make hits extremely difficult, even for experienced snipers. I'd like to attempt the 1,500-meter target." A murmur ran through the growing crowd of spectators. 1,500 meters was serious sniper territory, the kind of distance where environmental factors became as important as marksmanship fundamentals. Wind, temperature, humidity, and even the rotation of the Earth could affect bullet trajectory at such ranges. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "Santos, that's an ambitious goal. Most soldiers never even attempt shots at that distance. Are you certain you're ready for that level of difficulty?" Maria's response was simple and direct. "Yes, sir." The 1,500-meter target was a different challenge entirely. At that distance, the human-sized silhouette appeared tiny even through the powerful scope. Maria studied the range conditions carefully, noting the wind flags placed at intervals along the firing lane. The morning air was relatively calm, but she could see subtle variations in wind direction and velocity. She made careful adjustments to her scope, dialing in elevation and windage corrections based on ballistic calculations she performed mentally. The Barrett's 50 caliber bullet was less affected by wind than smaller rounds, but at 1,500 meters, even small environmental factors became significant. The first shot at the extreme range took longer to set up. Maria controlled her breathing even more carefully, waiting for that perfect moment when everything aligned. Her trigger finger applied steady pressure to the rear until the rifle fired almost by surprise, the way it was supposed to happen with precision shooting. The sound of the shot echoed across the range, followed by a moment of tense silence as Thompson adjusted his high-powered spotting scope. At 1,500 meters, even identifying hits required specialized equipment. The crowd waited, the tension palpable. "Hit, center mass," Thompson announced, his voice carrying clear amazement. The crowd erupted in surprised murmurs. Hitting targets at 1,500 meters was sniper-level performance, the kind of shooting that required extensive training and natural talent. For someone to achieve that accuracy on what appeared to be their first attempt with the Barrett was unprecedented in Thompson's experience. But Maria was not celebrating. She was already preparing for the second shot, making minute adjustments to her position based on what she had learned from the first round. This was how professionals worked, treating each shot as a learning opportunity to improve the next one. The second shot at 1,500 meters was even more impressive than the first. Maria had corrected for a slight wind shift that only she seemed to have noticed, placing the bullet precisely where she intended. Thompson called another hit, this one even closer to the exact center of the target. By now, word had spread beyond the immediate range area. Officers from other units began arriving, drawn by reports of exceptional marksmanship. The Barrett was not just any rifle. It was a weapon system that represented the pinnacle of precision shooting in the military arsenal. To see it handled with such skill by an unexpected candidate was drawing attention from throughout the training facility. Major Williams, the range control officer, arrived with several other senior personnel. He had been skeptical when he first received reports about the shooting on Range 7. Exceptional marksmanship was rare enough that false reports were common, usually based on wishful thinking rather than objective measurement. "What's the situation here, Thompson?" Williams asked. "Sir, Staff Sergeant Santos has just completed a perfect score at 800 meters and is currently engaging targets at 1,500 meters with consistent hits. I've been running ranges for 12 years, and I've never seen shooting like this from someone who isn't already a designated marksman." Williams studied Maria through his binoculars as she prepared for another shot. Her movements were economical and precise, showing none of the hesitation or uncertainty that characterized inexperienced shooters. She handled the massive rifle as though it were an extension of herself. The third shot at 1,500 meters rang out with the same thunderous report. Again, Thompson called a hit. Maria was achieving consistency at distances where even small mistakes could result in complete misses. Her performance was attracting attention that reached far beyond the training range. Unknown to the growing crowd of observers, General Patricia Hayes had been conducting a routine inspection of the Special Assessment Program. She had been in the administrative buildings when the sound of sustained Barrett fire caught her attention. As a former infantry officer who had commanded troops in combat, she understood the significance of what she was hearing. The Barrett was not a weapon for casual use. Each round cost nearly $20, and the rifle itself required extensive training to master. For someone to be firing multiple rounds with apparent success suggested something worth investigating personally. General Hayes made her way toward Range 7, accompanied by her aide and security detail. As a two-star general, her presence at any training facility was significant. But Hayes had built her career on recognizing talent wherever she found it, and reports of exceptional marksmanship always caught her interest. Maria continued her methodical engagement of the distant target, unaware of the growing attention her shooting was generating. She was completely focused on the technical aspects of long-range precision shooting, making subtle adjustments to compensate for changing environmental conditions. Her fourth shot at 1,500 meters was perhaps the best yet. She had noticed a slight shift in wind velocity and adjusted accordingly, placing the bullet in almost exactly the same hole as her previous shot. Thompson's call of another center hit brought impressed exclamations from the watching crowd. "Sir, this is really something special," Thompson told Major Williams. "I've seen trained snipers struggle to achieve this kind of accuracy at these distances. She's making it look routine." Major Williams was beginning to understand the significance of what he was witnessing. The military invested enormous resources in identifying and training precision marksmen. To discover someone with this level of natural ability was potentially valuable beyond measure. Maria's shooting continued with mechanical consistency. Each shot followed the same careful preparation, the same controlled execution, and the same impressive results. She was demonstrating mastery of fundamentals that took most shooters years to develop. The crowd around Range 7 continued to grow. Word was spreading throughout the base that something remarkable was happening. Officers who had been attending routine meetings found excuses to walk past the range area. Senior enlisted personnel made detours to observe the shooting. But Maria remained focused solely on her task, oblivious to the attention she was generating. This level of concentration was another indicator of exceptional ability. Lesser shooters were often distracted by crowds or pressure, but true marksmen could maintain focus regardless of external circumstances. Her performance with the Barrett M82A1 was rewriting assumptions about precision shooting ability. The weapon demanded respect, technical knowledge, and natural talent in equal measure. Maria was demonstrating all three qualities in abundance, hitting targets at distances that challenged even experienced snipers. As she prepared for what would be her 10th shot at 1,500 meters, Maria remained unaware that her demonstration was about to take an unexpected turn. General Hayes had arrived at the range perimeter and was observing through high-powered optics, evaluating not just the shooting but the shooter herself. The 10th shot flew true, impacting the distant target with the same precision that had characterized all her previous efforts. Thompson called another hit. bringing Maria's score to a perfect 10 for 10 at a distance where many experienced snipers would consider 50% hits acceptable performance. The range fell silent except for the distant echoes of other training activities. What the crowd had witnessed was shooting that belonged in the record books, achieved by someone who was supposed to be just another candidate in a routine assessment program. Maria Santos had just announced herself as someone very special indeed.